Hi there and welcome to this Hockey Inside Out Show bonus episode. I'm Stu Cowan of the Gazette, joined this week by our special guest, former Canadian Nate Thompson, played 15 seasons in the NHL, including 2 with Montreal. Canadiens fans will obviously remember him. And my regular partner here, Rick Green, former Canadiens defenseman, assistant coach, 1986 Stanley Cup champion. On this episode, we're going to answer a question that was sent in from a fan, Jack Brown, who asks, why is it that certain rinks or teams give the Canadiens so much trouble? Nate, you played for quite a few teams and quite a few different rinks. What was the worst rink for you to play in?
Well, I think I go back to probably the early part of my career and when the San Jose Sharks were, elite team as they were. And going into that building was extremely difficult because the fans are right on top of you. And I swear in the first 20 minutes, the first 10 minutes of that period, it seemed like there was 50 guys in the ice because the San Jose Sharks would shoot every single puck and it felt like it was chaos out there. So that's one that really jumps out to me. And then of course, you play in Canadian cities, like, you go on the road and you play in Winnipeg and there's some pretty hostile environment. So there's just different rinks and it depends, with certain teams, it's just difficult to play there and teams make it difficult for you to play there.
For Rick, I imagine the Spectrum in Philly might have been one of your least favorite places.
Yeah, there's a large list of teams as Washington Capital in the 70s. But listen, the
Washington Arena might have been your worst rink to play in.
Going into Philadelphia, Broad Street Bullies, with like 6 guys coming up with the Philly flu on the bus ride in there. Knowing very well that there's going to be 20 guys bench clearing brawls and guys trying to beat you up and do some crazy stuff to you, but they were not memorable years when the bottom of your feet start sweating on game day, which is not a normal occurrence. But between that, then you had the Islanders, and everybody was licking their chops playing against Washington Capitals because they had some guys that really didn't have enough courage to stand up for themselves. But anyway, survived to tell about it. I did have hair back in that day, and now you can understand why there's not much left there now.
Who was the scariest or the Flyers player you hated playing against the most?
Paul Holmgren. What an ass. What an ass. Yeah.
Any specific moment that stands out with him that
Thank goodness when I did have to eventually fight him that I did well enough to tell him that don't do that to me anymore because I'm out of control right now. But this guy would make my life so miserable each and every shift, and unfortunately we had to play them 8 times back in that day, and it was painful.
Nate, what was your favorite rink to play in?
I think it was either the Bell Center or Madison Square Garden. I scored my first goal at MSG, so there was something special about that place, playing on Broadway, all those things. So I think probably, like I said, probably either Bell Center or there. I mean, I had some fun games playing in the Bell Center as a Canadian, but definitely on the road too. So those 2 jump out to me. Can
you describe what it's like skating out on the ice at the Bell Center as a Canadian when the music's playing and the fans are going nuts?
Well, it's funny you say it because being back in Montreal for 4 Nations and being in the building, it was the first time in a while for me. But I had goosebumps. I had goosebumps just sitting there as a fan. And I remember as a player, it didn't matter if it was a Tuesday night or it was a Saturday night. It felt the same. And when you go out and you step on the ice in the Bell Center and you hear those fans and you hear the song, you hear the Coldplay song before it's just a special feeling and something that I think every player should get to experience once.
Rick, what do you remember your first time skating onto the ice at the Forum?
I remembered in between periods when we would come back out to start the period, and all of the people would be funneling through the corridors with the smoke following them right out onto the ice surface, because back then, right, it was
Smoke in the arena,
smoke in the arena, and cram in 4 or 5 cigarettes in between the intermissions, and it was just amazing to see the amount of smoke that would come into the ice surface from in between periods. But anyway, you said different time, but one thing hasn't changed. Some of those people that were following back in those days are still following, and are diehard fans and as loyal as you can get, providing you win or tie.
Well, Nate, you're in LA now, and I know you played for the Kings, and Rick, you coached with the Kings. Is it? I know you're an Alaska guy, Nate. Is it weird playing hockey in a warm weather environment like that? Was that an adjustment for you?
Well, it definitely was an adjustment for me when I was playing. I don't know if it's an adjustment for me now, but I think being from Alaska and always playing in a cold place. I remember when I was with the Islanders, and then I got picked up off waivers, and I head down to Tampa, and it's February, and I'm going to the rink in shorts and flip flops. It was different, but at the same time, it didn't take that long to get used to it. Once you get a taste of that, playing hockey in warm weather, it's not so bad.
Yeah, it must have been fun coaching out there too. And you were with your buddy Larry Robinson out there too, Rick.
Yeah, it didn't take long to make that adjustment, like Nate says. I had time to play a lot of golf because we were an awful team back then. But anyways, all good, all great experiences, great memories, no matter what. And fortunate enough to fool them for a long time, and had quite a few laughs along the way.
Nate, Kent Hughes has spoken about how he wants to make Montreal a place where players want to come and play. The weather, taxes, language issues in the past, maybe players didn't want to come here. I imagine you've heard those comments probably from some players. And from someone who has played here, what would you say to guys, maybe free agents, wondering about whether they should come to Montreal or not come to Montreal? How would you sell Montreal to them?
Well, I think you're getting a chance to play the Montreal Canadiens. It's self-explanatory. I think when you're getting to go play for an Original Six team, you're getting to experience, playing in front of fans that there's no other fans like there are in the league, like Montreal Canadiens fans. I mean, I try to tell people that don't know much about hockey. I tell them it's very similar to, fans over in the English Premier League in soccer. It's very similar to that and how passionate they are. And so, as a player, if you're a free agent and you want to go and you want to experience that, that's the place to be. And I think with what Ken Hughes and Marty St. Louis are doing, they're creating a culture there, and they're creating a place where I think players will want to go play. And hopefully that's the case.
I know I saw you at the Four Nations, Nate, and Ken Hughes was also saying, all the best players in the world, or most of them, the Russian team wasn't there, in Montreal, but not just an in and out road trip, right? The guys were here for about a week, and he was thinking that might open the eyes of some guys. And I imagine it's true, because when you're a visiting team, you're sort of in Montreal and out. Do you think maybe spending 3 or 4 days here might convince guys who might be wondering whether to come to Montreal or not that, this is sort of a fun place to be?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it depends what they're doing for those 3 or 4 days. but I think that like I said, the city of Montreal has so much to offer. I mean, you heard me talk about before with the food and the people and just the culture, and I mean, being able to just play in front of the Montreal, playing at the Bell Center. There's nothing like it, and you're not going to get that experience anywhere else in the league.
Well, Nate, thanks again for joining us. Hopefully we'll cross paths again at the Bell Center and maybe have you back on here again in the future. It's great having you here. Rick, great having you as always. Knuckles Nyland will be back with us next week. Anyway, that's it for this Hockey Inside Out Show bonus episode. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe to the Hockey Inside Out YouTube channel. Go to MontrealGazette.com/newsletter to sign up for the Hockey Inside Out newsletter. And of course, go to HockeyInsideOut.com every day, where you get all the latest Canadiens news. And if you have a bonus question you'd like us to answer in an upcoming bonus episode, please leave it in the comment section below.